You know what's absolutely insane? A British officer once walked straight into the White House. No guards, no president, nobody. Just dinner sitting there, still warm on the table. So what did he do? Sat down, ate President Madison's meal, drank his wine, and then casually ordered the entire building burned down. But here's where it gets even crazier. This wasn't some random act of violence. There's actually a wild story behind why this happened, and honestly, most people have never heard the full version. Before we dive in, quick shout out to thehistoryreader.com and the historians whose research made this possible. Everything you're about to hear, completely real, no exaggeration needed. So buckle up, because once you understand why Britain did this, the whole thing makes a twisted kind of sense. Picture this, it's 1814, and Britain is absolutely wrecked. They've been fighting Napoleon for over a decade, and I'm not talking about a normal war. This thing nearly destroyed them. Cities in ruins, the treasury basically empty, an entire generation of young men just gone. Then finally, Napoleon goes down. April 1814, he gives up the throne and gets shipped off to some tiny island called Elba. Britain can breathe again, right? Not quite, because while they were busy fighting for survival in Europe, guess who decided to pick a fight? The United States. America picks the worst possible time for a war. Yeah, America declared war on Britain in 1812. And look, they had their reasons. British ships kept stopping American vessels, wouldn't let them trade with France. But what really set people off, the Royal Navy was literally kidnapping American sailors off their own ships and forcing them to serve in the British military. Americans were furious. So furious they declared war and even tried invading Canada. At the time, Britain barely noticed. They had bigger problems, like Napoleon trying to conquer Europe. But now Napoleon's done, and Britain's got some free time on their hands, and they're pissed. The British weren't messing around. They sent Major General Robert Ross, a hardened veteran who'd fought under the Duke of Wellington in Spain. This guy had seen everything. And he didn't bring recruits. He brought 4,500 battle-tested soldiers, men who'd survived years fighting Napoleon's best armies. These weren't kids playing soldier, these were professionals. One of Ross's officers was a young captain named Harry Smith. Keep that name in mind, because he saw everything that happened next. August 1814. Ross's fleet sails up the Chesapeake Bay and lands about 50 miles from Washington, D.C. Now here's something most people don't realize. Washington back then wasn't this impressive world capital. It was barely a city. Only about 8,500 people lived there. But it had two buildings that mattered: the Capitol, where Congress met, and the President's House, already being called the White House. When news hit that British troops had landed, absolute chaos broke out. President Madison scrambled to defend the city, but there was a problem, a huge problem. Most of his army was state militia, farmers and shopkeepers who'd barely held a gun, let alone fought in a real battle. Meanwhile, Ross's veterans were marching straight toward them. On August 24th, the two armies met at Bladensburg, just outside Washington, about 6,500 Americans waiting on one side of a river. President Madison himself rode out to watch. This was supposed to be their stand, their moment. But the difference between the two sides? Absolutely brutal. The British had fought in Spain. They'd fought Napoleon. They knew exactly what they were doing. Most of the Americans had never even fired a shot in combat. The battle barely lasted. British troops started advancing under fire. The Americans held at first, given credit, but the second those British veterans charged with bayonets, the militia just ran, like full-on sprinted away. Units collapsed, lines disappeared, men fled in every direction. It got so bad it earned a nickname, the Bladensburg Races. President Madison just sat there watching his entire army fall apart. Cabinet members fled, congressmen fled, the president himself had to get out. And just like that, the road to Washington was wide open. No army, no defense, nothing. The British couldn't believe how easy it was. Late that afternoon, British troops entered Washington. The city was like a ghost town, doors unlocked, streets empty, everyone had run. Ross and about 40 officers, including Harry Smith, headed straight for the White House. They just walked in, no resistance, nobody there. And what they found was unreal. Dinner was literally still on the table. Meat roasting in the kitchen, wine bottles open, the whole thing set up for like 40 guests. The Madisons had fled so fast they left everything behind. The officers stood there for a moment, half expecting it to be a trap. Then they looked at each other and basically went, well, waste not, want not. They sat down and ate President Madison's meal, drank his wine, used his silverware. Can you imagine? Sitting in the president's chair, eating his food in his own house. Talk about the ultimate screw you. After dinner came the order: burn it. They piled furniture onto the dining table, gathered up curtains, threw papers on top, and set it all to fire. Harry Smith wrote later that watching the flames was almost beautiful, even though he knew it was a horrible thing to do. The White House burned from the inside out. Walls cracked, the roof collapsed. This symbol of American power just destroyed. Then they moved on to the Capitol. Senate chamber burned. House of Representatives burned. The Library of Congress with 3,000 books? Ashes. Then the Treasury, State Department, War Department. One by one, the heart of American government went up in flames. You could see the glow from miles. By the next morning, Washington was wrecked. Then a massive storm rolled in, just pounding the ruins. The British pulled out less than 26 hours after they arrived. Mission accomplished. America humiliated. Newspapers went absolutely crazy. The government had to operate from random temporary buildings. The national capital had fallen without even putting up a real fight. But here's the thing nobody expected. This didn't break America. It enraged them. Burning Washington became a rallying cry. Suddenly, this war felt personal. People who'd been on the fence, now they wanted blood. And strategically, the whole thing accomplished almost nothing. The government survived, the army survived. America's resolve, harder than ever. The British failed at Baltimore. Then the Battle of New Orleans turned into a disaster for them. And here's the really messed up part. That battle happened after peace had already been signed. Men died for a war that was technically over. The White House eventually got rebuilt, so did the Capitol, bigger and stronger than ever. And no, before you ask, the White House wasn't named because of the fire. It was already white, but the damage meant they had to repaint it, which kind of locked in the name. Today, there's basically no physical trace of the fire left, but the memory, that stuck. It's one of only a few times in American history that a foreign army invaded and burned the national capital, and it all happened in one night. So yeah, there was actually a moment in history when enemy soldiers walked into the White House, ate the president's dinner, and burned the place down. And the fact that most people barely know this story, that's the wildest part. If you're as blown away by this as I was, hit that like button and subscribe because history is way more insane than they taught us in school. Drop a comment and tell me what part of this story shocked you the most. The dinner? The fact it only took 26 hours? Let me know.